Hello and welcome to your Burning Questions #AskBen. For the past few weeks, I mentioned at the end of each video that I would be making an upload about your questions for me, and all you needed to do was use #AskBen. Well, the response was pretty great, with 20 questions being asked, and today I present to you the answer to those questions. I am replying to them as they were given to me when I searched my YouTube comments. So, without further ado, and without stalling anymore, let's get into this. Starting off, the first question comes from Danky Kong 2.0. I like the name, by the way. Who asks, have you ever encountered a Sasquatch or Sasquatch-like creature, and if so, what happened when I encountered it? This is an interesting question, but it may be a little disappointing. I honestly can't say I ever saw a Bigfoot. At least with 100% certainty. Growing up, we lived in a house that was surrounded by forests with a branch of the Susquehanna River cutting through it, and I spent most of my free time in them. One day I was building a platform in the trees and I heard this crashing sound coming from the river. Just so it is said, I had been in the forest for about 2 hours working on this structure. When I turned to look at where the sound was coming from, I saw a very tall, dark figure almost hide behind a tree on the other bank. All I literally saw was the back leg and bent elbow as it vanished behind a tree. I watched the area for quite some time, but nothing ever emerged. I can't say it was a Sasquatch, but whatever it was stood very tall, walked bipedally, and was black. So black in color that it almost looked dark blue in the sunlight. Just now thinking about it, it couldn't have been a bear with how its arm was bent. The image of that is burned in my memory. As stated, it isn't a fantastic story, but that is the best I have. Moving on, our next question comes from Sea Otter. I personally love otters, almost as much as sloth. Anyway, the question is, if I could be a mythical creature, what would it be? I'm going to make a few assumptions first with this question. First, it isn't a cryptid, since they have a possibility of existing. And second, it can't be a known animal. Well, this is quite a hard one, but I know for a fact it wouldn't be anything that swims in the ocean, since I am terrified of sharks. I always thought the best superpower to have was the morphing ability, so it would have to involve that with the possibility to become human if I chose. I assume the Rakshasa from the Hindu mythology would be the best fit. They were terrible looking creatures, but they could change into any being that they wanted to. Some were very violent man-eaters, but some were more good-natured. In some of the stories, they actually fought beside warriors in battle. Yes, that is what I would be, but only one of the good-natured ones. Our next question comes from Later Already. I hope I didn't butcher your name. Asks, are Bigfoot animals, people, a mix, or even alien? Most people are unsure about the answer to this question, but there are quite a few interesting theories about it. A lot of people claim that it is actually an ancestor from the giant primate known as Gigantopithecus, while others state that they are literally just their own separate species. One of the most unique ideas, and one that recently has been gaining a lot of traction, is that they are a type of interdimensional being that can come and go as they please within our realm. This theory attempts to explain how they are so elusive and bodies are never found. Allegedly. The idea that they are aliens sort of ties with that, but mainly it comes by way of how many Bigfoot sightings there are that are linked with UFO encounters as well. Although, this is tough also, since in one story a Bigfoot is seen walking with aliens, while in another, it is attacking them. So who knows about that one? I can't say I have heard of any Bigfoot-human hybrids, not to say those stories don't exist, but anything is possible. As for my opinion, I waver between the idea of them just being their own species, or being interdimensional. Rachel VK wants to know how long Bigfoot live and if they pass on their knowledge to other generations. Wow, it seems a lot of people want to know about Bigfoot, even though I try not to make topics about it. Maybe I was wrong all along. This is quite a tough question to answer, since not a lot is known about them, but there are stories that do provide us with valuable information. Since young Sasquatch have been reported, it obviously means they have a growth cycle like everything else. and that sadly means they have an end. Some people have claimed to find Bigfoot burial grounds. No, I'm not referencing the Mountain Monsters show. But no one has ever dug around in one that I am aware of. With stories like the ones I mentioned in my videos when Sasquatch attacks, many instances have shown that they are communal and intelligent. This goes with the Genoskwa making themselves armor to protect them from arrows, and a story from Mount St. Helens where they revenge the death of one of their own. Going farther with this, the story from Honobia, Oklahoma says that they hauled off the dead body of one of their kind after it had been killed. This shows intelligence and reverence towards their kind. It wouldn't be hard-pressed to make the call that they obviously live in tight-knit families and do share knowledge within the group. Some Native American stories even mention Bigfoot that help out mankind with their knowledge of an area. So in short, they do die, but I am unsure how long they live, and yes, they do seem to share their knowledge within their community. Cemetery Hill asks not so much a question, but more of a suggestion about covering cryptids in video games or creatures of myth. I greatly appreciate all of that, and I'm glad you enjoy my presentation of lesser known creatures. I try to bring cryptids into the light that hardly anyone talks about. In a way, I am trying to do my part to keep their stories alive before they are completely lost to time. I do have a series on mythic creatures under the title of Mythic Spotlight, but I haven't made one of those in quite some time. Maybe I need to. As for cryptids in video games, I would love to do something on that, but even though it would be cryptid related, I think the video game part doesn't fit with my channel. Maybe I'll have to look into doing something like that for my second channel that I have called Iceman Videos. Jesse Chappa asks a super tough question with, do I think the Patterson Gimlin video is a hoax or real? This is a loaded question, since so many people feel so strongly about it, either as genuine or fake. The debate over this video seems to sway back and forth quite a bit, with evidence saying it is real, and then something comes out stating the opposite. When I first saw the video when I was very young, I immediately thought it looked fake, but after getting older and a bit more critical, I personally believe it is genuine. It sort of was the inspiration behind my Evidence What Does It Take video, since this clip is one of the clearest bit of evidence we have. Those who think it is fake are fine to believe that. I am not saying you are wrong, but there are major things with the video that puzzle me. Bob Hieronymus claimed that he was Bigfoot and that he used a suit bought from a costume shop owned by Philip Morris. The problem is that the costume he shows is not the same one in the film. In fact, the way the skin fits on the being in the film is too flawless to be a human in a gorilla costume. Even the way the buttocks and the rest of the body is filled out looks ape-like. However, the costume Bob claimed to use wasn't padded at all. He even stated as much when directly asked about it. The fact that Patty has breasts is also very curious, since when most people make hoax videos, they don't think about male or female, especially during that time. Many people more technologically advanced than myself have studied the video very closely, and noted that you can see the creature breathing and muscle movement under the skin. This wouldn't show up as a human in a costume. Both Bob and Roger Patterson had passed lie detectors about their differing stories, and I should mention that the only reason Bob came forward was due to him wanting to make money on the film. Honestly, with this question, I should have left it for its own video, since there is so much more to say about it. Maybe I will. For now, I will leave it that I personally think there is enough proof to say it is real, but I am open to all opinions. Moving on, we have a question from the Crunchy Sopa, who asks my thoughts on Thunderbirds. I think I made a video in relation to this topic a while ago, however, I may not have been clear-cut about it. Thunderbirds are a species of extremely large bird that was said to fly about and have the strength to pick up large animals and people. Within the Native American lore, many were described as having supernatural powers like control over lightning. Leaving that previous statement behind, I do think that they possibly did exist at one time, but they are no longer around. Stories about them range from all over the world, so that lends credence to them being real at one time. But today it would be pretty hard for them to stay hidden, being they would be seen flying around. A lot of things can hide in the forest, but not a lot of things stay hidden in the sky. Lena Demona asks what my opinion is of Paul and Ben Eno. This is an interesting question, since I was unaware of them until I saw you talking about them in a previous comment. For those unaware, Paul and Ben are a father and son team who are paranormal investigators. They have many books written by them and also have a radio show called Behind the Paranormal. I am sorry I can't say much about them other than I have contacted them about appearing in one of my videos and they replied back saying they are interested in talking about it. I need to contact them again to set up a meeting. This question ruined one of my secret projects. Kelst wants to know, what cryptid do I believe has so much evidence to exist that I feel no more proof is needed? Simply put, it would have to be my big three: Bigfoot, Jersey Devil, and Mothman. I would add aliens, but I don't consider them cryptids. Bigfoot goes without saying, since there are so many historical writings and stories about them from just about every corner of the world. Anytime you have different cultures from different locations all talking about the same thing, there has to be something behind it. I started out as a skeptic of the Jersey Devil, but after reading about the sightings, not to mention the ones where a whole trolley car full of people saw it, it makes it hard to deny. As for the Mothman, it probably would be the weakest of the three, evidence-wise, but still to this day, people describe the same being in different states. Just last year, there was quite a rash of sightings around Chicago. Our next question comes from Space Policeman of Space, who wants to know what I think is behind the missing 411. I really hate to do this, but keep on the lookout for a video coming out about it soon. I'm sorry, I really am. Harmon Laniger asks, what is the strangest cryptid I have researched? This one left me puzzled for a while, since there are so many, and I don't know where to draw the line between pure myth or actual creature. Such as the Borero with its feet backwards, or the Nuclevi, the fleshless horse and rider mix from Norse mythology. Honestly, the first one that comes to mind is a Snallygaster, a giant bird-like dragon that has a metallic beak, tentacles, razor-sharp teeth, and drinks blood. It is a hard story since much of it is written about in the ways of mythology, but there are some reported sightings, although I don't really think it existed. Outside of this, I would go with the Loveland Frog. Maybe. Wow, this is a tough question since they all are unique in their own way. CagZC brings up a question from my start with YouTube, wanting to know if I ever saw the creature I captured on my trail cam in my house again, and more importantly, was the video real? First and foremost, while many people give me more credit than I deserve for my expertise in video manipulation, yes, the video and creature was, or should I say is, legitimate. To go a step farther, no one staged what was seen, and to this day I have no clue what it was, and have yet to see it again. I should mention that a few years ago I took the camera down. The only thing I can think is it might have been an interdimensional being that popped in quickly and just as fast vanished. After that video, my family sort of freaked out and kept claiming it was a demon, but I know it wasn't. James Kasusnik wants to know my opinion on shadow men. Many people more involved with the spirit realm have better experience than myself with this question. However, in talking to a few of my friends over at Haunted Road Media, they put a few things into perspective. There really are multiple forms of shadow people, with the Hat Man coming to mind, and the one Mike Ricksecker from Haunted Road Media mentions, called the Crawler, which seemed to be a shadow beast. With the Hat Man, it seems to be a separate entity, since it will interact with people. For the most part, the shadow people that just about everyone sees, normally just as a glimpse from the corner of your eye, are either beings in a different reality, or spirits stuck in time. Mike relayed a story about one darting through a doorway when he entered it, almost as if he frightened it. This led to a fascinating hypothesis that they could be regular people like you and I, but are in a parallel reality. Going farther, we might actually appear as ghosts to them when interactions occur. Much like in Mike's story, when he entered the room, that shadow person might have seen Mike as a ghost. CagZC asks me about what I think happened with the Dyatlov Pass incident. I am up in the air about that one, since so many mysterious things are said to have happened. Some have claimed that UFOs were involved, and there are other reports that the area strangely had high levels of radiation. There are claims of bright lights at night, where it is said the government had launched missiles at the site, and yet there is the interesting photo reportedly showing a Bigfoot-like creature in the forest. The whole event was basically ruled caused by natural causes. However, that doesn't excuse the fact that information about the whole event was known to be covered up and hidden away quickly. Interestingly, when the remains of Semyon Zolotarev were examined, his DNA didn't match anyone in his family, but when they reconstructed his face, it matched photos of him. Normally, Russia is one country that is, oddly enough, more open about UFO and cryptid sightings, so this only leads me to assume it was caused by something the government knew about. Luke TS Manager is curious about what information is known about interdimensional beings and where they come from. To put it rather bluntly, not a lot is known about these entities. There are quite a lot of stories about encounters with them, and there do seem to be different variations, but for the most part, they seem to fall in the category of extraterrestrial. Even though I am not sure this is accurate. Beings such as the Jinn, doppelgangers, Mannesmen, and yes, even Bigfoot are claimed to be interdimensional, but all of them are quite different in appearance and behavior. The best answer as to where they live is to think of it as living in your house. While inside, you move around and do your daily things, but everyone outside aren't involved in that. They are doing their own things. Yet every once in a while, you leave your house and interact with everyone else. Is that as confusing as it sounds? Okay, think of it as two or multiple realities all happening at the same time. Honestly, no one knows, as they simply could be aliens using portals. Cat with Gun wants to know how long Mothman has been on the Earth. Wow, you all have been asking some tough questions. Not to tie this in with the previous question, but I personally believe they are interdimensional beings that I consider watchers. There isn't a lot of stories about them prior to the 1967 Silver Bridge collapse in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. However, the Dogu figures found in Japan from 14,000 to 400 BC could be early man's representation of them. It seems for the most part they stay hidden until there is a reason for them to appear. I don't see them as the ones causing the calamity they appear before, but rather they are trying to warn of the dangers. Lita Reddy, I'm never going to get that name right, is curious about why Bigfoot is still seen as a cryptid even with all the DNA, hair samples, and picture proof. Yes, Bigfoot is still considered a cryptid, and I'm not sure that will ever change. This topic falls into a strange territory which involves scoundrels, conspiracy, and confusion. There are so many hoaxers out there that it makes valid evidence hard to be looked at seriously. It seems for every one piece of real evidence provided, there are 20 fake ones, and for some reason those fake ones are the only ones that get publicity. Who all recalls the news storm over Rick Dyer's gorilla suit and a cooler scam? Even after being proven a hoax, a few years later he got even more press coverage over a fake Bigfoot statue he had in a glass case. You would think after one hoax, people would quit listening the moment his name was mentioned. But no, his lies are drank up by the gobletful. This goes for the DNA side as well, where Dr. Melba Ketchum was dragged through the dirt over her studies to the point you never even hear about her anymore. This was only due to her being too public before the results were completely in. Had it been results for an unknown frog species, no one would have thought much about it, wrong or right. Yet for some reason, Bigfoot is a totally different story. Other DNA studies have been done, but yet again, they don't make the news. Stories where bodies are recovered all involve the same thing, that it is quickly scooped up by the government and witnesses are told to forget what they saw, i.e. Battle Mountain. Wow, this sort of turned into a rant, but the point is, for some reason Bigfoot is a taboo topic that seems to be intentionally being kept hidden. Rocky to Piper wants to know about a white-haired Bigfoot sighted in Connecticut, and also if interdimensional beings hide their bodies of their dead. I tried looking up the same thing you did, and even found the site, but couldn't locate anything about a white-haired Bigfoot. I will have to look into it a bit more though. As for the interdimensional being question, I suppose that is a possibility, but if Bigfoot is one of them, there are claims that they do bury their dead. Now we get to the question that started this whole video, and it comes from AJ Lance, who was curious if cryptids are related, such as the Bladensboro Beast and the Fiskerton Phantom. To a degree, I believe some are related, such as all Bigfoot around the world share a same ancestor, but they aren't related to, say, the Mothman. In that regards, they have their own separate species. As for the Fiskerton Phantom and the Beast of Bladensboro, it is quite possible that they could be the same type of being, as alien big cats are a known phenomenon around the world. There are a few differences, though, that make me question that the two are of the same lineage. First, the Phantom was described as being 4 feet tall, and the Bladensboro Beast was about 2 feet tall. That could mean that the Beast was young. The notable difference is that the Beast took on the characteristic behavior of sucking the victim's body's dry of blood, much like the Chupacabra. In all fairness, though, the Beast was seen multiple times, whereas the Phantom was only sighted twice. Being they both are described as jet black and resembling a mix between a bear and a panther, it would make one wonder if they were the same type of creature. I wouldn't rule it out as it being possible. Wow, this video ran incredibly longer than I expected it to, but I wanted to answer all your questions to the fullest of my abilities. I thoroughly enjoyed doing this, and I greatly appreciated all your questions. I certainly learned that you're all very interested in Bigfoot and interdimensional beings. That is something I'll have to keep in mind for the future. I hope I satisfied all your inquiries, and I will be doing this again, but maybe I'll do it in the form of a live stream. If you haven't yet done so, please consider subscribing to my channel for more content similar to this, and I would greatly appreciate it if you could share my videos with someone you know who would enjoy this type of genre. With that, be safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Later.